Here's G, 12th fret. C, G in root position. E minor, 12th fret for the G. Just the G with the benders. The volume pedal. C with the volume. E minor, just 12th fret. Just with that 2nd string bender and 3rd string bender down, C. Hey everybody, in today's lesson I wanted to give you some bender ideas for playing country ballads. So whether you have a Duesenberg or you're using Sertano benders, I wanted to focus on country ballads because it's slow enough to where these licks and these ideas, most anybody who's playing benders I think can, with a little bit of practice, apply them to their playing. So let's jump on in here. I have a jam track here. It's in the key of G, although I am in open D tuning, right? So let's listen to this jam track and I'll tell you what these chords are first. So remember, key of G, so we start off with a G chord for 2 bars. Here's G. G. It's going to go to our C chord. To G. Now here it goes to an E minor. To a C. To a D. And then that's the chord progression. So let me tell you that again. G. Minor, comes C, G. Okay, so let's talk about all the different things that kind of how to build up some concepts with the benders. That's pretty easy to do, really. Okay, the first thing we really want to do is when you're first learning open D tuning, make sure you learn your root position chords. That means D open, E 2nd fret, F 3rd fret, G 5th fret. So let's, in the key of G, let's focus on our open position chords, minus the E minor. Okay, I'm going to show you some tricks with E minor, with the benders at least. So G, we've got 5th fret, right? That's our G chord. C, we've got 10th fret. And D, we've got 12th fret. Simple enough, right? Okay, so you might be saying, well, what do you do for E minor? Okay, here's a little trick for E minor. Just play a G chord, right? Whatever I do on G, I can do over my E minor chord. And I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. So keep that in mind. E minor is our minor... excuse me, minor 6 chord, right? It's our minor 6 chord. Of course, we could push our 2nd string bender down, play the top 4 strings, and that's an E minor chord, right? But just think too, our minor 6 chord, and if you don't know numbers and all that, just think if this is G, right? Here's G, here's F sharp, here's E. It's down 3 frets, not counting the fret you're on, right? There's an E. But just a simple way to think about it is when you have an E minor, just play a G chord, okay? And that can go, when you're moved to other keys, you kind of got to think in numbers. So say we were in the key of C, you think, well, an A minor is the chord that would work like that in the key of C. So you kind of got to know your numbers a little bit, but we'll focus on the key of G for right now and think E minor, just put that in the back of your mind as the minor, is your 6 minor chord, right? It's in the key, in that key. Okay, so we've got G. Now, here's the other thing. Let's talk about just doing the 2nd string bender. You can do that over your G chord, right? Push it down, let it off. Same thing over the C chord. Same thing over the D chord. And you can bring it up the octave and do it up here. Right? And that works. That second string bender can be played over your G, C, or your D chord, your 1, 4, or your 5 chord. Now the third string bender only works on the 1 chord. In root position, we're talking in root position, the G chord and the D chord. You can't do the third string bender in root position on your 4 chord, on your C chord. Just keep that in mind. It gets out of the key. But you can do it, like I said, over your 1 chord, your G chord, and your D chord, your 5 chord. Because you can have, that's a sus4, and you can have a 1 sus4, and you can have the 5 chord be a sus4, but you can't have the 4 chord be a sus4. It gets out of the key there, and won't sound real good. Okay, so now let's just do that, right? On and off with this second string bender or the third string bender in root position. And that's the simplest thing you can do, just getting into the benders. On and off with the G. Here we go. Normal G with the benders. Works. Go to my C chord. On and off, G. E minor, I'm just going to play a G chord. Totally works, right? Here's a C, D, C, G. E minors play a G. That E minor sounds perfectly fine when we do a G. Just do anything that we would normally play G, so on and off with the second string bender, right? Anything we would do with a G, we can do on an E minor, and theoretically what it's giving you is it's giving you more of an E minor 7 sound, but you don't need to know that. Just know whatever I do in G, I can do over an E minor, over my minor 6 chord, and that works in any key as long as you know your numbers where your 1 chord and your minor 6 chord is, right? Okay, so that was just the second string bender, and that was just in root position. We've got lots of other things that we can do with this. Let's do the third string bender now. Okay, keep in mind it's not going to sound good over the 4 chord, but it will sound good over the 1 chord. And let's talk about over the E minor. It's not going to sound real good, honestly, because you're adding a C note to an E minor chord, and that doesn't sound so good. So maybe not do the third string bender over the E minor, over the G chord, we're saying at least, right? I'll show you. G, third string bender. We won't do anything over the C. Back to G. Nothing over the E minor. C, nothing. D, third string bender. Nothing over the E minor, just play a G chord, and it totally works. C, D. Okay, so now you can start combining those wherever you want. Just a few simple rules. You got to, like I said, think whatever I do with the G minus making it a sus, third string bender stuff over the E minor works. So you can do your any G, just any G, normal G, and then your second string bender works. Third string bender won't sound so good. C, we can do our second string bender, but the third string bender won't sound so good on the C chord over a 4 chord. D chord, we can do the second string bender or the third string bender. And we're just talking in simple root position. Okay, so that's a great place to start with these benders, especially over ballads. You can get the volume pedal going. I like to not make it too swelly sounding. A lot of people ask me about, well, how do you use a volume pedal? I think hearing a little bit of that first part of the note and not so ambient volume, but a little bit of the attack of the note because I'm doing it right on the beat, you know. So you want a little bit of the attack of the note. So I'll do a little bit of volume pedal and add my bender here. Second string bender. Let's focus on that. G. Maybe a little bit, let me do less volume. Just real subtle volume. E minor.